Welcome to Promote Profit Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark, and today it's just me, but I'm going to be speaking about some things I'm seeing in the marketplace that y'all need to be aware of because there are some big problems out there and people think they're saving money, but they're really not. So before we get started, I want to remind you in a couple days, our July free event is coming up and it's Your Funnel Isn't Broken. It's empty. We are seeing, when I say we, Rebecca Bertoldi, who I work with, Go High Level on, we're seeing a lot of people build funnels, but they have no idea how to drive traffic. The key to getting your author platform up and running way before your book comes out is learning how to drive traffic. Learning how to drive traffic for leads, to buy books, to buy whatever you have. So you can sign up for that event. It's on July 10th, 9 a.m. Mountain Time at Breakthrough Events, the number 3.com, breakthroughevents3.com. I hope to see all of you there. I'm going to unveil some tools that I've found recently that have been a big, big help. One of them, I will tell you, I've been doing on a regular basis. The very first one I did, I ended up with 50 new people on my list. So it's definitely something that works for particular genres of books. But that's just one of the tips I'm going to be sharing with you guys. So what I wanted to talk about today is more and more people are learning that they can publish their books with AI. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you think you're saving money by doing that, then more power to you. But some big problems have arisen from it. And I right now probably have 2 to 3 people a week that other authors have referred to me that are just stuck. I don't know how to sell the book. I self-published the book. Now I don't know what to do with it. So that brings up some big problems we're seeing in the industry. And of course, I've mentioned in the past, AI is great for some things. It's not great for other things. So that's what we're going to talk about is why your book isn't selling in the AI era and how to fix it. So the AI gold rush has a lot of false promises attached. So authors are bringing me, like I said, those finished books. And the first thing I'm going to ask you when you bring me that book is what is your goal behind writing this book? What is your long game that you hope to achieve with this? And the common thread I get 2 things actually. The first one is, why didn't anybody else ever ask me this? So that's the first thing. They're a little bit stunned with that, I don't really know. Or the other thing is they treated their book like a lottery. And what do I mean by that? I mean that they thought, I wrote the book, I published the book, it's there, leads, come on in. It doesn't work like that. So again, it's sort of that Kevin Costner thing. If I build it, they will come. They're not coming. So that's the first thing I want to tell you about that. AI book writing tools and publish in a weekend promises are exploding all over the place. I will tell you that I see them everywhere. They're in my inbox. And I'm actually challenging a lot of the things that come into my inbox now because there are so many scams out there. You look at some of these AI book publishing platforms and, you can pay so much a month and it's 5,000 and you pay over a year. I'm going to tell you what I see as a publisher and why I always get paid up front. Once people who haven't built a platform publish that book and they're on a payment plan, you don't get any more money from them. So it's kind of a silly concept unless you can actually fulfill the promises from the book. These have been exploding about 30% over in the marketplace is people offering those kinds of things. I have never encountered an AI written book that is worth a darn. You may think it is, but when you send it off to an editor, they're going to tell you this stinks. There's no personality in it. And there's so much non-personality in it that now all of the major platforms where you load are going to ask you if you used AI to write your book. So yeah, let me put a little line there as well, because I do use AI not to write the book, but I do put it in for grammar, spelling. I write mystery novels. So I will put it in and say, do you see holes in my plot? What needs to be fixed? I use it on that basis. but I always have an outline I'm working from. The work is mine. I do research with AI. So if I don't know a particular area, and I know my editor on one of my, I think Dad Lied actually said, hey, you've got all these little tags in here. And the tags were from research or places where I asked questions, and it sort of rewrote a little bit for me to give me an example. So those got left in. He just took them out. They didn't really impact the book on them. But I want to let you know that writing your book on a weekend with AI is not going to make this a bestseller. It's not going to bring you leads. And then, so I'm going to walk through here 7 or 8 specific ideas that I'm getting over and over and over and why they're not working. So hopefully you go glean something out of this if you're someone who wants to use AI to self-publish, that maybe there's some fixes you can make. The first thing is AI copyrights and why throwing your manuscript into a bot is risky. So many of you probably heard about the big Anthropic lawsuit. And I just mentioned to you that I will, when I'm done with a manuscript, I will throw it into AI and I will ask it questions. How is the plot? Is the core? Like, what is the core promise here? What has been fulfilled? So I'll ask it to give me feedback. Here's what I don't do. I don't put my book in there and ask for things like that until my copyright is filed and my LCCN is filed as well. Now, you don't necessarily need an LCCN, but I will tell you with the Anthropic lawsuit, the people who got money had both of them filed. So what that did is when the whole settlement came down, those self-published authors who were part of it, they got no money. They didn't get money because those two things were linked together. So what I have done in my own publishing company is every single author gets an LCCN now. That's a Library of Congress control number. And the reason that I do that is because I want my authors fully covered. So if you hire someone to do this, to publish your book, great. Ask them to do both. If they say they won't, walk away. I will tell you, and I'm not going to name names here, I do a lot of book marketing for people, as well as that platform building. And one of the things that I see over and over is publishers like myself, they will put a copyright blurb on the copyright page, but there's no copyright actually filed. And that is a big problem in today's world because AI can steal your work. And in the last 2 years, I've worked with, well, I've talked to, I couldn't even work with them because there was nothing I can do. 2 or 3 authors who went through AI, and when they went to publish their book, they found that their book had already been published and there was nothing they could do because they didn't file that copyright. So make sure that you have both of those things done. And I'll connect the dots for you here. Big AI companies are getting sued for using books for training data. Why are you giving your data to them, unpublished, unregistered manuscript tools to create policies for them? So this is why it's so important. You could easily find your book or your research or whatever you've done in somebody else's book because they used AI to write theirs as well, and you didn't cover your material. Again, I just want to cover the edges here of this. So I'm talking about writing your book. AI is fabulous for getting your metadata, for brainstorming, for ad copy. And I'm even going to push back on ad copy a little bit because I'm going to tell you a little secret. I tried to use AI to run ads. They were the worst. No clicks. And I hear from other authors as well that Amazon is just not, the ads are just not working right now. They're just wasting money. So it is good for some of those things. If you're using it as a repository for your proprietary IP or publish and advise or the grunt work, it's okay. But remember that humans retain creative control and rights strategy. So I would highly recommend, number one, that you have a copyright. Number two, that you find out how to file an LCCN if you're self-published. Sometimes they don't take self-published books. I will say that. That is going to be a problem for some people because they don't want to process all of this. With the self-published, it's really increased. So Always register your copyright. Have a minimum of a near final version before you register. That means don't dump it into AI. Don't give it to an editor. Don't let beta readers do anything with it. Don't do anything until your copyright is filed. End of story. Nobody gets to see it, except maybe, your immediate family or someone you know is not going to steal it. Read the terms of service on the AI platform you work. You want explicit language that your data is not used to train public models. And I will tell you, I'm working with a company right now. The first thing they told me out of the gate was they have a vault. So that is another thing you can ask as well. They have a vault that protects what's going on. Okay. Next thing on here, I just went through the LCCN, the Library of Congress. That professional copyright page, when I open it up and look at your book, I can tell right away you self-published. I had someone last week. I went in, I looked at his first page and I said, you self-published, didn't you? And he said, why would you say that? Like he had no idea. And most of you don't. That copyright page matters. And it matters because it's a professional page that signals that the book is real. It's a legally protected product. It's not a hobby file. It includes the copyright notice, edition info, the publisher imprint. If that's publisher is you, that's fine. Make up a company, or if you're a business, use your business company. The ISBNs and the cataloging information, which is what the LCCN is. The LCCN basics are the control number that is a unique ID that helps libraries, vendors catalog your book and track your book as well. So when I say that LCCN is important, if you're a self-published author, you probably noticed it. You're not getting in library. You take your book over to the library, they open it up, they look, and they say you're not eligible. That's why you don't have an LCCN. So you're not eligible to be in their files. That's how they catalog their books. So that's the first thing. One thing, it is free in the US. You apply for it in pre-publication, and including it on the copyright page tells people that you professionally did this book in a way that it's cataloged, and it increases the chances that libraries will consider taking it in. So here's the problem I see. You don't have any LCCNs. The copyright page is incomplete and messy. I just saw one on Friday. Somebody sent me a book. They said, my granddaughter did this. Isn't it amazing? The book actually was really amazing. It was a children's book. The illustrations were fantastic. I don't think I've seen anything as beautiful since like the Winnie the Pooh books. They're just the way the scrolling was and the colors and everything. The problem was, as I opened up her copyright page, she had no ISBNs on there. She had no control number. And this is the thing. If you don't treat your book like a catalog product, why would the market take it seriously? I want you to really think about that. She will be coming on she is coming on as a client, and we are going to fix all of those things that when I open the book, I can see it's not professional. And she hasn't actually hit the publish button yet, which is really nice. It is color. It is going through Ingram, and I probably will recommend that she pull it from Ingram, because Ingram's pricing with the 55% and that premium color make those books almost impossible to sell because they're too high priced. I probably will suggest that she does an Amazon imprint the first time and then build that audience until she can get an agent and get this book shopped, because it is truly worthy shopping to a publishing house. Number 4, read that copy cover. Oh my gosh. This is the product description for your book. It's not a summary. It's a book that's driven ad. So it is an ad for your book. Many respectable market resources recommend 140 to 200 words. Beyond 200 words, the attention drops off and the conversations fall. But here are the things I see. Rambling synopsis instead of a conflict-driven book. No sense of stake, no genre, no promise, no what are the stakes of reading this book? Why should I read this book? No clear, this is for readers who love X positioning, even though it's one of the best ways to help authors identify that they want to read this book. Here's a simple formula you can use. Open with the book core promise or conflict, whatever that is. Quickly establish who, where, when, and then punch the what's at risk. And then close with a selling paragraph that either, if you love X, you'll enjoy Y. So you can go to, I know when I put these in consistently, when I try to have AI help me with this, they always refer to my books. If you love Tana French and the way she depicts the Irish landscape or the Irish small towns, you will love Y, which is my book, because most of mine are around small towns. Before that happened, I'd never actually read Tana French. Now I have, and I agree. It's also useful at the time after you file your copyright, after you file your copyright, and you put this into AI to ask the AI what other authors are like you. Now, I did that with mine, and I got a list of about 20. And I have to tell you, the top 5 on the list are people that I read regularly. So I was shocked, but then I had to say, kind of sit back and wonder how much of that was influenced by what I listened to on their books. I even found 2 new authors that I've been exploring lately. They will probably be my summer author project because when I find a book I like or an author I like, I read everything. So I actually found some new people doing that as well. Number 5, poor cover design in an AI saturated thumbnail economy. Now, you're probably seeing out there are a lot. I had someone, I want to say a year ago, bring me a children's book. And well, actually, I'm going to even go broader than this. I had 2 people at the same time. She was actually doing her books on PowerPoint with AI. Like, I have no idea how she did that, but that's how she formatted and designed them. The other one was using Canva, and it was all design oriented. It was all AI illustrations. You're not going to get a copyright on that book. They will copyright the words. They will not copyright those illustrations. And so you need to make sure that you do your own illustrations if you actually want to copyright. And I can tell you, I don't think any professional, if you got to the level where you built an audience, no publisher is going to take it when they're AI generated. So the ebook and digital reading market continues to grow, which is where most readers are seeing your cover for the first time. It's a tiny little thumbnail on a retail site or the phone. At the same time, the AI tools have made it easy to pump out covers, but not necessarily good covers, I must say. You see a lot that are generic, they're low contrast, they're unreadable on the thumbnail designs, and they scream amateur product. So here's the first thing I would recommend if you're going to be the author of multiple books is have a brand guide developed first. That way, if you insist on going in and having those designed by AI has a guide to work from so that all of your books are branded the same way. If you go over to my juliadyllenclark.com website for my fiction, you will see that there is a pattern to the designs. That's because I did a brand guide first. I knew what I wanted and I knew how I wanted them to look. So what a good cover must do if you're insistent you're going to do this is it must be legible in thumbnail size. It must signal the genre immediately. If you go look at The Fortune Teller's Daughter, there's Malibu, there's the fortune teller, there's the broken ball, and there are lights. There are police car lights in the background flashing off of the rain. So you know immediately this is crime or murder or mystery or something like that. Your book must reflect the genre instantly. And you must match the visual expectation of the reader, not your personal preferences. What does the reader want? See why it's really important to have that author platform built? You need to do this for the reader, not for yourself. And I knew that going into this brand guide, and we continue to expand the brand guide so that a reader can automatically identify my books by site now. So here's how AI is misused here. Authors rely on AI prompts instead of hiring someone who understands typography, genre conventions, and series branding. All of those things I just talked about. So your start is not, hey, I wrote the book, I have a cover. your very first, because you're going to build a platform, is what does my brand guide look like? What is my brand Bible going to tell people about these books? The result might be a pretty cover that you get from AI, but it may be off genre if you don't have that built. Visually noisy, it's killing the click through in a crowded search. Because remember, everybody else has covers that are probably designed by AI as well, as I'm seeing that. So, number 6, no platform, no audience capture. This is perhaps the biggest thing. AI is an amazing tool for platform building. And it is in a sense because it can tell you that brand guide. What is your genre? How do you get to those people? More and more successful authors are building direct to consumer ecosystems, newsletters, stores, membership style communities, and they want to own their reader relationships instead of relying on retailers only. That is a smart strategy because more than likely, you're not going to get those retailers to pick up that book. If you're over on Amazon, you're fighting in a crowded market. If you don't have an agent, chances are you're not going to get into that bookstore. And quite frankly, I tell my authors, bookstore destination is not where you actually want to be. And the reason why is returns. Returns will kick your butt monetarily. And authors don't understand that. When they put it in for bookstores on Ingram, if you happen to get picked up, you may get a big bill from Ingram at the end because you just got chargebacks and they are very expensive. And authors don't understand this, which is again why I say you need to understand the industry before you go forward. Audience development is now considered the top trend that you need to follow. Authors are creating more serial content. They're creating micro communities. There are a lot of really great programs out there that can help you with this. I just mentioned at the beginning of the show that I'm going to be hosting the webinar in 3 days about your book funnel isn't broken, it's empty, and some things you can do to pipe that up. Here's my message about this part. Authors show up when the book is finished. They show up on my calendar. They're ready to go. They have the money to publish. That's fantastic. They have no email list. They have no clear reader home base. We're doing a lot of websites right now for these readers, and they have no plan about how they're going to capture that audience. One thing that you don't realize until you get here to me is that audience, when people buy on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, Apple, wherever your book is sold, you don't know who bought your book. That's a problem because if you are going to be a serial writer, you need that audience to know you, to be in your funnel. That's why funnel building and platform building takes so long. It's not just so you can have an engaged audience when you launch. It's so that you can keep engaging. So what are you going to give away free on your website? How are you going to drive traffic there? What programs are you going to use to build that email list? And how are you going to build it? And we're doing the Broken Funnels webinar because y'all have funnels, or you think you have funnels, but you don't know how to drive traffic. It's as simple as that. If you can't drive traffic by the time you launch, chances are you're not going to have readers on there. So that book is just one node in a larger ecosystem that you need to learn how to build if you want to generate book attention. I have a client recently that told me he has spent well over $200,000 getting his 5 books out there. What he spent it on was marketing without the platform building. We are now going back and building that platform because he would like to have the nonfiction side, be a business with his wife when she retires. So we are building that, but we are also building the fiction side. So be aware, you can spend a lot of money on a lot of nothing if you don't build a platform. Number 7, no goals, no strategies. I just want to sell books. Goals define your platform and how it is built. I recently have a client who came on board. Her goal is she wants to be a speaker. She has a topic that she speaks on that she'd like to build a business around, built on her personal experience. We are going to build her platform differently than someone who says, I already have a business. I don't speak. I want lead gen. Those are two different things. If you're a fiction author, it's a completely different way to build that platform. And quite frankly, can be a little bit slower because you don't have a full business behind it. So that goes back again to where I tell you that you're treating your book like it's the lottery and not a full blown business asset. So define your goals in advance, not write your book and then define your goals. I want this book to feed my high ticket coaching or consulting. You build a platform built on lead capture, credibility, assets, and possibly speaking. If you want a long term fiction career, you need an email, consistent release schedule, series branding, reader groups, and ad experiments. You can see there is a completely different funnel that needs to be built there. I will tell you with my nonfiction, I have a book that I'm giving away free. I'm actually going to give it away at the end of this podcast and on the book funnel talk on Friday. I rarely give away a book on nonfiction. On fiction, I have a free book I give away. And as you move through your series, you can go back and give an old book from your backlist away. That's actually what I'm doing is I rewrote a book from my 2010 backlist, and that's being given away as the free gift. So I'm building my list. I also mentioned that I just added over 50 new people this week to my list with another thing I'm going to talk about on the book funnel event. So here's what I'm saying. Authors get on my calendar. They can't answer how many copies would make this successful in 1 year. What are the other revenue streams that I want to support with this book? What is my plan for book 2, 3, 4? Without those answers, you cannot prioritize the platform tasks, your budgets, or your timelines. Everything feels random. And I'm going to say this on an even bigger basis. I would say 90% of you come to me, you don't have an adequate budget for what you want to build. So that's one of the things you need to find out in advance with that brand guide. How are you going to spend that money? Where are you going to spend that money? Do you have that money? And you can't rely on book sales to get that money. So think about that in a very deep way. Zero understanding. Number 8, how the book business works. Generative AI has dramatically increased the number of books entering the market, or increased, not decreased. Sorry about that. Entering the market. So that means that book prices are going down, and that may influence the way you publish your book. If you're over on Ingram and your book is $29.99 and your competitive books are published differently and they are $14.99, people aren't going to buy your book. So you have to keep that pressure in the back of your mind. The reason I'm down to, kind of dissing Ingram here is it's per page count. That's the price of your book, the cost of your book, the wholesale. 55% to retailers. You've just taken a huge chunk of your book right out of the process of making money with it. So it's harder to make money. What is your plan as a nonfiction author? What are you going to lead them to sell to bring that money in? I will tell you, my books, I don't make a lot of money on because I have to keep that retail cost down. Where I make my money is when you come into my world and build a platform or publish or book marketing. So I have that bigger ticket plan out there. It's baked into the plan. At the same time, authors are going about different platforms to get out of the retail space. I'm working with Domingo Silvas on his Praxis AI. That is a place where you will be able to sell your book. They take a lesser percentage. You sell your book over there. They have AI that can actually talk to your book. So those are the kinds of things we're seeing cropping up more and more, where you don't have to go to an Amazon. You don't have to go to Barnes and Noble. You don't have to use Ingram anymore to be able to get that book up someplace for sale. That is a big plus. It's direct sales. There are IP pricing strategies you can do, film, TV, podcasts, merchandise. Think about your IP first, your intellectual property. How do you want it used? I have authors right now in the nonfiction space who are doing limited series podcasts to support the book sales. So it's pieces from the book in that podcast where somebody can go and listen to 10 podcasts. We have one in English right now. That same book was released in Arabic. It's being developed in Arabic right now. So, what are the things that you can point to if you want to go to get a speaking gig? Hey, go over and consume not only my book, but listen to the pieces of my book that impact you. The other thing that I see so much of is that you guys don't understand basic models, trade, hybrid, self, direct to reader. Direct to reader is a newer thing that you need to explore if you want to make more money with your books. I actually have the Perfect Reader Playbook over on that New Praxis AI. I can make more money over there, which is not really my concern. I went in on the founder level because my book cover will be on all of their marketing now, which is a big plus for me. How retailers and algorithms actually surface your books, how this all works. Amazon changed. If you listen to my podcast regularly, you know Amazon changed everything last year. So that's maybe why your book is not getting the visibility that it used to. The retailers, do you want to use retailers? I personally would like to avoid retailers because they take a big chunk of the profits on there. The role of metadata, pricing, and categories, all of that is super important. How copyrights, ISBNs, LCCNs support. We sort of went over that earlier in this. And how you can position yourself as the guide in this area. The authors who survive the AI flood are the ones who treat their book like an asset in a business, not a lottery ticket. So to use AI well as an author, it's not all gloom and doom. Market research, you can use it to brainstorm comparable titles, keywords, audience pain points, who your book is most like. That can actually be a plus on Amazon ads because I ran ads a couple weeks ago where I took that list of 25 authors that my book is like. And when somebody went to an ad for that author, my ad came up. So when they went over to look at, I'm not going to mention names here, but one of them, my book came up as an ad for that. Marketing assets, your blurbs, your ad copy, your social content, your drafts, your email ideas, get all that refined way before that book comes out and start building that audience. Structural help, it's great for outlining, checklists, talking to the page. I talk to mine. I will say, I want a particular kind of contract. How do I get this? How do I structure the book to get the attention of this? I've actually done that. I'm writing another book right now that's the one for After Bad Lie. We have structured it to get a particular kind of contract. And you remember that you always maintain the final editorial control and you still need an editor. I cannot tell you this enough. I stack Bad Lie through repeatedly through AI. Where are my grammar? Where is my spelling? What is, catch all the places that are wrong with this. Guess what? The editor still found a bunch of stuff that needed correcting. AI is not always right. It can be used once that copyright is filed to be put through and correct a lot of the things, a lot of the grammar, a lot of the spelling. I use Microsoft too, and the editor still found a lot of errors. So don't skip that editing piece. It is very important. So if you want to find out more about building the platform, building that audience, what you need to do, I'm giving away the Perfect Reader Playbook for free. And you can go over to prpfree.com and download your free copy and get that going. That is the most important first step, even for that branding guide of getting out there and figuring out how you're going to do, how you're going to promote, how you're going to layer your marketing, how you're going to build that funnel, build that website, build everything you need to do this well. So go over PRP free. That stands for Perfect Reader Playbook. If you're not writing this down, prpfree.com. And I hope to see you on Friday to learn more about how to drive traffic to your funnel.